The Foreshore and Seabed hikoi started a new political movement and shaped a generation of Māori advocacy that continues today. But given the current political climate, what does one of its architects think of hikoi now and the lessons learned from that hikoi 20 years ago? Hone Harawira is with us in studio now. E kara, e hone tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, Jules.
Hoki mai. Always good to have you. Remind us, Hone, why the decision for a hikoi 20 years ago?
Māoridom, right across the board, was pissed off with government's decision to ignore legal process and to simply steal the Foreshore and Seabed unto themselves. There was talk about all kinds of action, and then we heard, I think, Kahungunu first put out a call that they're going to mobilise, they're going to march. And then we heard about Te Arawa, we're going to do it. And then as the talk of a hikoi built up, all eyes turned to the north, obviously, because if you're going to march, that's where you march from, and I'm up home trying to hide. It became clear that wasn't going to happen, so, yeah. Once it became clear to us at home, too, that that's what we had to do, it was then a case of simply working out with activists up and down the country. If we come, we'll carry it. You organise through your town and we'll be there.
What was that like for you, though, when all those eyes turned towards you? Because I remember at the time, it was your name that was being mentioned.
Sure. Well, case of having to be, case of, I was the one at home. I was part of that whole movement, so I wasn't fussed about it. It was just something that we had to do. I just made sure I had my ducks lined up. You right with this, Hilda?
Got to check with the
check with the boss.
Yeah.
And then talking to the brothers Pāho and Mangu, Mike Smith, Brother Arthur, Rangitane, Marsden, Patu Hakarai, and others at home. And the strength was there, so we decided connect with the rest of the country, and if it's on, it's on.
Did you realise how big it was going to be? How many? And by the way, not just Māori, non-Māori were going to participate. Because I know you said you weren't worried too much about how many people turned up initially.
Well, I was. When Shane Taurima interviewed me and he said, "How many will there be?" I said, "Well, if it's just me and Hilda and Mangu, I'll be a bit disappointed. But if it's more than a couple of hundred, I'll be happy." Yeah. On the first day, when all of those kaumātua and queer turned up, though, including Sir Graham, and all the others, come up on the buses. I thought to myself, I've never seen that before. Actually, even the Land March didn't start with that level of support. I thought, wow, everybody's here. Everybody is here. The mokopunas were all there, so that gave a clear lift to the soul. We knew then that we were right. That was on the very first day, so it was just a case of managing it through, making sure activists all the way down the country understood where we were coming, the size of the movement, etc., etc., etc.
What was it like to be, look, the statements made by the Prime Minister, Helen Clark, at the time, haters and wreckers, the same old faces mentioning your whānau by name?
Apart from the family thing, the fact that she could meet that with that bloody sheep a couple of days before, and then ignore the tens of thousands of Māori travelling to Wellington, really exposed that the racism within her. She's seen as being a really good, really strong leader, and she was, and a very clear leader, but at that point, she made it clear, and by her decision-making process, she didn't ask the Māori MPs. It was her, Margaret Wilson, I think Minister of Justice, Michael Cullen, and Heather Simpson, her number 2. They were the ones who made the decision. No discussion whatsoever with Māori, who own Māori MPs, and then simply told them what was going to happen. So from that point on, it was clear that that was not a leader that Māori wanted to follow.
And we know, obviously, throughout that time that Tariana Turia goes through a process and she ends up leaving, and of course the Māori Party is formed. But many of the Māori Labour MPs at the time stayed. John Tamere has said the easiest, and quote, the easy thing to do would have been to walk.
No, it wasn't easy for Tari. It was the hardest thing to do. Really, the thing John needs to understand, it was the right thing to do would have been to walk. It was it was desperately hard on Tari. I know what she went through, heard about it afterwards. I knew about it at the time. She was under huge pressure. Just one Māori woman opposing the whole of government on an issue like this. So she did the hard thing, but she did the right thing. The difficulty is the boys didn't have the balls to follow her, and probably were a bit embarrassed that it was a woman leading, so they couldn't understand how they should follow her. So they followed the white Pākehā lady instead. And it was the wrong thing to do. Not about being insulting to them necessarily. I think they know it was the right thing to do, not the easy thing, the right thing.
We are in an interesting political climate at the moment, and calls have been going for hikoi.
Sure.
And of course we have a hui āmotu on the 31st of May at Ngāti Kahungunu. Could a hikoi today happen in the way that it happened 20 years ago? Could it achieve the results that were achieved 20 years ago with the hikoi that you led? Given, as we know now, the Māori Party has most, in fact, bar one, all the Māori seats in Parliament at the moment.
When I get asked about it, I say, particularly to all of the younger ones, well, are you? Are you going to march? Are you going to organise it? You know where we are. You know we'll always support what it is that you do. But toi tū te tiriti, that movement, that group of, and they're national now, of younger ones, they have to make that call, because they're the ones who are going to be leading it. Just like we led it in our time. They're the ones who have to step up and say, we are, and this is why, and this is how, and this is the kaupapa.
Has Aotearoa as a nation learned anything from what happened with the hikoi 20 years ago? Because we know now, as a result of the hikoi, that Māori will collaborate, collectivise, come together on key issues. But has New Zealand as a country learned anything from what happened 20 years ago, do you think?
I really don't care whether New Zealand has. I care, though, that we as Māori need to decide, and it's an activist thing, and the younger generation have to provide that lead. If it's going to happen, all of you out there, get it done. Don't sit around waiting and asking and then get till next Christmas and say, oh, we should have. Either you are or you're not.
Can you understand, though, that they may want to come and seek advice from people like you?
Sure.
And get the kupu eye?
And my advice is absolutely, you make the call. Whatever that call's going to be, you guys make the call. And know that we will support that call, whatever it's going to be. Whether it's to march, whether it's to organise flights down there, whether it's to organise, I don't care what it is, what the process is. But they have to step forward and take that leadership so that, in the same way that Ihu Mātao was a follow-on from what happened at Bastion Point, and gave that generation a sense of how to occupy land to make a statement. If this generation wants to make it a hikoi, ka pai, we'll back them. Whatever they decide, it's up to them. All I say is, come on, guys, don't wait until this Christmas.
Hone, thank you. Thank you for those recollections. 20 years ago, it feels like yesterday, and you've held your form. Some of us need a bit of makeup. E mihi anei kara.
Thank you.